But to me, what that gives us is it gives us a sense to know where is the attention going. What is Google prioritizing? Because Google still gets a ton of search. And where should I put my time and efforts? Because if we're just throwing stuff out and not knowing where it should go, I think we're losing some of that time and value. And for you, same thing. Like you're treating professionals, you're treating CEOs or retired individuals. If Twitter is up there at the top of your organic search results, man, I would be leveraging Twitter above some of the other platforms, because that's probably going to get that message out in front of the right people. Dave, how are you doing this morning?
I'm feeling great. I got some construction right outside the old window here, so we're going to see if we can make this happen.
Yeah, no problem. We can't hear anything, so I've got a couple things queued up. Let's take today as kind of what's new, what's going on, what are people talking about in physical therapy. And Dave, I'm going to start with you because you shared a post. Let me pull up the screenshot. This post was probably from one of my favorite people. Although I disagree with him, he's still one of my favorite people. I think this is a great guy. Jeff Moore. Yes. So Jeff said, one of the strangest hurdles PTs have to overcome en route to creating a thriving practice is the endless shame hurled upon them by other PTs for choosing not to work with, quote, profit-obsessed insurance companies. Okay, so I totally agree, man. We beat ourselves up more than anything. I want to get your perspective in a second, Dave. But then once we hit the propaganda of profit-obsessed insurance companies, that's where I start to disagree here. And instead, charging a fair, quote, fair price directly to consumers. So Dave, you shared this. You talked about it. What's your perspective on that?
So yeah, I reshared it on Facebook. First of all, I was going to bring this up, so I'm glad that you immediately brought it up. Shout out to Jeff Moore, great guy. I believe he's still in Michigan. Known him for, I don't know, at least 10 years or more. So I understand where he's coming from. So they have, he's got Onward Health, and they basically do out-of-pocket or out-of-network billing, and they do one-on-one visits. So it comes from that lens, right? It comes from that area. And I don't know. I mean, I think I agree with him more than disagree. But I reshared it. I said, hey, this is why my practice, Concierge Pain Relief, only accepts 5 out-of-network payers, where we have a biller who bills those insurance companies the out-of-network benefit component of the plans. Otherwise, we're mostly out of pocket, where the consumers are basically paying us out of pocket through their credit card or in some cases, their HSA, FSA card, whatever. So I think I share enough commonality with Jeff in this whole situation that I reshared it, and I'm assuming it sounds like I agree with him way more than you do.
It's just, we agree on the fact that, yeah, PTs are our own worst enemy. Like, we beat each other up. We argue about interventions. We argue about business. We argue about everything. And ironically, as much as PTs are like, hey, we're going to help every patient achieve every, objective and every goal they have, with ourselves, if I want somebody to tell me no, first person I'm going to ask is a physical therapist. Because when I post anything on social media, every physical therapist comes on with why I can't do it, why I'll never do it, why I shouldn't do it. It's all negativity, which is so disheartening, because they would never be like that with their patient. So that being said, from my perspective, and believe me, insurance companies don't need me to be their advocate, but truth be told, they don't care. Like, United Healthcare is everyone's favorite scapegoat. I was teaching last night. We were talking about United Healthcare. I was showing, Medicare Advantage plans and comparing that to traditional Medicare. Everybody wants to beat up on Medicare Advantage, but the reality is traditional Medicare, if you're a Medicare beneficiary, Part B, yes, you have an amazing amount of freedom and lots of coverage, but you pay for that. Medicare Part B premiums, monthly premiums range between like $200 and $500. Then your supplemental insurance is going to be another $200 to $500. It's not unreasonable for a Medicare Part B beneficiary to be paying $500 to $1,000 a month for primary, secondary insurance. Awesome. But if you go and look at the plans in your area for Medicare Advantage, lots of them have zero monthly premium. Lots of them have coverage that Medicare Part B doesn't offer, like fitness memberships, dental, vision, pharmacy, all this other stuff. So from the consumer side, I'm going to go with a plan like that if I'm not traveling the world, if I don't need unlimited access to every physician in the United States. If I have my own doc and I'm going to stick with my own doc and I'm going to stick with my own hospital and my own location, I'm just going to take the most affordable plan. But don't vilify it because I'm choosing something like that, you know? And then to say that insurance companies are profit, whatever, ironically, aren't we the ones complaining we don't get paid enough? Aren't we the ones complaining we need more money? Aren't we the ones obsessed with profitability because, you know, we feel like we don't have it? And if you look, go on to Yahoo Finance, what's the profit margin for most of these insurance companies? 3, 5, 7%. I know a lot of therapists that are making more than that as profit. So we're, you know, just as guilty as any other business for trying to maintain profit margins. But what do you say to some of that?
All right. Well, there's a whole bunch of folks, I'm sure, live and eventually watching this recording that's going to be mad at Tony. So let me speak for them, Tony, real quick. So first of all, the insurance company, first, United Healthcare is like the 5th highest revenue company in the US. That arguably is crazy. Like you got Facebook, Google, I think ExxonMobil, Berkshire Hathaway, Walmart, and I think United Healthcare is somewhere around 5 or 6 or something at any given year over the past several years. Is that kosher? Does that even make sense? That's a talking point. Another talking point I wanted to bring up is I wanted to ask you as a recap, Tony, when did you open your practice? It was 2000 something. What was the year?
2001 into 2002.
2001 into 2002. Do you recall the dollar amount of your average payer back then, or your top payer? Like, what do you remember what the dollar amount was?
Yeah. We were averaging about $105 per visit. You know, even back then, United Healthcare had a daily limit of like $70 or $75. It's gone down since then, but we were on average $105 per hour of physical therapy delivered.
Okay, $105 around 2002. They've cut, so everything else has increased since then. You know where I'm getting at. Everything else has increased. The clothes that we're wearing, the Wi-Fi that we're on that we're paying for, the rent, the mortgage, the interest rates have changed, obviously, and fluctuate, but cost of living, rent, whatever it might be, utilities, all the cost of living has increased between 2002 and 2024. In some cases has increased dramatically. And these third-party payers, this is I want to speak to the folks at home getting mad right now at Tony Maritato that are grabbing their pitchforks and they are coming to Middletown, Ohio to come after Tony Maritato. That is what Jeff Moore is getting at. That's what he would probably say if he were here. You and I have watched enough of his videos and his content and his, understand where he's coming from, and we know him well enough. That is the crux of it. The challenge is like we have this third-party payer system, and it's different compared to any other industry any other industry where the consumer, the customer is paying the vendor, the supplier, the company, whatever, directly. So this is the challenge of this whole third-party system. But I just wanted to bring up the example. You had $105 payer on average, or your highest payer in 2002. And in 2024, now they're paying 70, 80, 90, or somewhere below $105. That is a huge issue. I know it's not easily fixable, but I don't know, like you just have a different approach to it where you kind of have a business model and have all these other things going on where you understand at a high level, like how you can adapt, how you can be amenable to that, how you can do things differently. When people are, as you know, practice owners are practicing in the traditional old therapy model, and each year they're having less reimbursement, less payment, that's where all this is coming from. But fill in some gaps here. Let me give me some feedback. Give me some. Give me some.
So I appreciate the intent of what Jeff is getting at, in that we need to innovate. We need to, support our peers. We need to help them kind of find profitable ways to deliver services. I don't think we need to sling mud at the insurance companies. And I don't think the insurance companies are the enemy because they don't give a crap about us. They don't care about us. They're not thinking about us. They're not worried about us. Couple things that you said. So UHC is one of the highest revenue companies. Revenue is not profit. So yeah, like
I know.
it's pretty much mandated that everybody in the US has health insurance. So I would imagine a health insurance company is going to have high levels of revenue. But if we're going to call them profit hungry, whatever, greedy, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror first. You know, we're looking for bigger profit margins than they're looking for. The other part of it is locus of control. How do we make these decisions? I always say, yeah, I would like to get paid more by insurance companies, but what are my opportunities here? Well, in 2000, I think it was 2000, I was looking at the chart yesterday, United Healthcare on an adjusted basis was like $6.50 a share. Today, it's like $580 a share. Well, you know what? I could have bought shares back in 2000. There is nothing stopping me from being an owner of United Healthcare. And any therapist that has a 401k, that has exposure to the stock market at large, they are benefiting on the back end from United Healthcare's profitability. There is no human that's like, I am United Healthcare. United Healthcare is a collection of investors. We are among those investors. We benefit on the appreciation. I see it. We benefit as the consumer, because guess what? I have health insurance. I had United Healthcare as my health insurance for a long time. Why did I choose United Healthcare? Because they were able to negotiate lower fees for the providers. So as the consumer, my monthly premiums were lower. I save money on the monthly premium, just like Medicare Advantage plans. They have zero monthly premium. I make money on the stock investment because I have exposure to the stock market and mutual funds and potentially United Healthcare specifically. So I give up a little bit of profit on one end, but I make up the profit on the other. And again, nobody is being forced to contract with United Healthcare. So to Jeff's point, if you can't afford to deliver a profitable therapy session for what they are offering to pay, don't sign the contract. Like, there is absolutely nothing forcing you to sign the contract. We sign those contracts either because we want access to their beneficiaries, or we can do it in a profitable way. I can do it in a profitable way. I am happy to sign the contract, you know, and I don't have the problems that you hear about from other therapists. I don't have takebacks. I don't have rejections. I don't have denials. My assumption is, when you hear therapists complaining about United Healthcare taking money back, it's because they did something wrong. They didn't understand the process to submit a claim based on the customer, United Healthcare's guidelines. So of course they're going to refuse to pay you if you don't do what they're paying you to do. All right, we got some OMG when you look at it that way. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's always a different perspective.
Wait, they were talking about my perspective or your perspective?
I don't know. I'm going to assume it's my perspective.
So
go ahead.
With Jeff's point, like, you know, fair, I don't know what fair is as well, but like a fair amount would be like, I suppose, like covering costs and being able to pay, you know, the labor side, the physical therapist side. All right. So that she said Tony's side. So yes, makes sense when you look at it Tony's way. And everyone's loving Tony's way. So, but that's the thing. So like you can certainly have a Tony Maritato style adaptability and practice model. For us, for example, like we're in New York City, there's absolutely no way that we could do any in-network plan. Arguably, like Fox Rehab does it with Medicare Part B, but they're huge, they're at scale, and they make it work, and they have, you know, slimmer margins. But if I have to pay a therapist, if I have to incentivize a therapist by paying $80, $90, $100 per visit for them to go do a 60-minute home visit, that is basically everything that Medicare pays, and that is more than all the in-network contractors, in-network contracts of what they pay and they reimburse. So for the current in-network reimbursement for doing outpatient physical therapy in the home, in most places, especially in most metros, it's just not feasible and not possible. So sometimes, I mean, just not to go up on my soapbox, but sometimes we have to explain some of this to prospective callers on the front end. But then again, most of the time, if someone's looking to use their insurance, we're not the right fit. They might call back and say, hey, you're right. Like we called 5 other places and they have a 2 or 3 month waiting list, or the therapist came for 12 minutes and said to my, spouse, like, oh, walk with the cane. Yeah, you're good. All right. That's it. And like, that's physical therapy. So like, man, the challenge is like, there's just so many different angles. There's so many different perspectives and situations for all this, for the payment side, the insurance side, the labor side. And also I would love to get Jeff more on here. Maybe after Jimmy McKay comes back from the voice disabled list, the 2 to 14 day disabled list, whatever it might be. We get Jimmy McKay back on here. We get Jeff Moore. We go foursies. We go 2x2, and maybe we can have this banter with Jeff, because he's great on video. He's great at putting a little bit more juice in his side of things from his perspective.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember Jeff brought up a long time ago was, should CIs get paid? Should clinical instructors get paid? I don't have a screenshot for it, but I'd love to touch on that topic real quick, because it's kind of in that same thread. What has always been done is not what always has to be done. So I think there's huge value in CIs getting paid. I remember when I was a student, I already owned a physical therapy clinic. We already had a thriving business. And I was thinking, wait a minute, I can't choose who my CI is going to be. I can't interview my CI. I can't choose the location. Like, you're just going to randomly issue me this place. And so that whole model, what's been your experience in that world? Because I don't think you guys take students, do you?
We don't. No, we have not.
But imagine if you did. Imagine if you had the opportunity to bring a student in, expose that student to your business model, to the resources you have available, to the kind of patient care experience you could deliver. And you did it for compensation, because it is taking your time. It is taking you away from what you would be doing otherwise. It is accessing your professional knowledge. You are delivering a unique perspective and value to that student. And when we talk about how we're going to shape and mold the future of physical therapy, nothing against teachers. I love teaching. I would go back to be a professor at some point, but I do think that if you're in academia, you don't quite have the same touch points as somebody who's in the profession treating patients on a daily basis. If you were offered a stipend, if you were offered some sort of compensation, and you could select the student that you wanted to accept, would you accept the student?
Of course I would, especially because I would look at that selfishly. I would look at that student as saying, this could be part of my minor league system. I could potentially groom this person to hire them as they're graduating. So yes, and by the way, that's what a lot of companies do, and that's that's part of the whole mix of things. But yeah, absolutely. The challenge for us is some of our clientele are very either creatures of habit, or they want a lot of privacy and confidentiality because of who they are, their background, whatever. And that is one of the reasons why some people want private home visits in New York City from us. And so the student coming in, we've asked this before. We've had like therapy candidates. We've had other folks ask to shadow, or we've had candidates that are potentially looking to work with us, and they're like, hey, can I join you for like a couple home visits, like to just shadow and kind of see how it is, like if they have not done home visits before. And then we'll ask our patients, our clients, and most of the time they say no. So the student, because it hasn't been introduced already. Now, if the student was already with me and we're starting a new plan of care, a new interaction with a new client, then it would be like, well, that's how it started from day one. So like, that's just how it is, and that would be fine. So I think there would be a little workaround or some nuance, or I would have to say to the current patients, like, hey, I have a student starting in 2 to 4 weeks, and like, they have to come with me no matter what. Like we have to have them come as part of our arrangement. But again, we're going into people's homes. So if someone doesn't want it, or doesn't want a second person standing there like awkwardly watching everything, that's just where this is what some of the patients and clients have said. So like, yeah, I mean, we would have to maybe figure it out, but it would be doable. And yes, I would be open to it.
What are the non-financial benefits of being a CI? So I do think there's a level of personal satisfaction. By the way, I bet you guys are going to remember this. I just grabbed this image today. Jimmy is Silent Bob. If you guys remember, Jimmy is Silent Bob. All right. For me, now I've disclosed, like, I haven't taken a student in a couple of years. Once COVID hit and I was more out of the clinic, I just didn't have the resources to take on students. I would do it virtually, but not in the clinic. I just agreed. They strong-armed me into it, to taking a student, making a spot available for sometime in 2025. But that being said, it makes you feel good. Like, you feel like you're influencing the future of the profession. You feel like you're giving back. The student's going to ask you questions that make you think clinically a little more diligently than you might have otherwise. But like anything, my wife reminds me all the time, there's a difference between doing the things you enjoy and doing the things you need to do. I know when I have a student, my documentation falls behind. When I have a student, a lot of other responsibilities get pushed to the back burner. It does cost me money to bring a student into my clinic. So it's like, how much am I willing to pay for that student to be here with us? I think Jimmy was referencing Justin Stiver down in Florida. Like, they do interviews. They're very selective about the students they bring in, but they have housing and they have other benefits that they could provide the student. I just think that we need to re-examine the opportunities there. And even if the universities refuse to pay CIs, I bet the student's family, if it's possible, like, I don't know the ethics of it, I bet the student's family would pay the CI if it was the right CI. Because if I already invested $150,000 in my education, paying $3,000 more, $5,000 more for a great clinical experience that's going to set me up for the future, I think it's an investment well worth it. Plus, you can also learn a lot from students, give and take.
Also, really,
go ahead.
Really quick, to bring Jeff Moore back in that conversation, and with clinical instruction and clinical education. Do you remember several years ago, this was pre-COVID, he used to go live like most mornings, like Monday through Friday. He went live at it was like 6 or 7 a.m. like a maniac. God bless you, Jeff. You're the man. And it was so entertaining. He'd go into his clinic. It would be really early. I don't know why I was up that early either on Facebook, or I was getting the notifications, and he'd make his cup of coffee, right? And he'd be drinking a hot cup of coffee. He'd start talking about clinical stuff, clinical considerations. He sometimes would be he'd do demonstrations. He would be treating one of his therapists. If he had a student, he'd be treating the student, or they would have a conversation. He would be treating one of his aides or assistants at the time, I think. So he would be showing hip mobilization, or he would be talking right into the camera. He did that for so long and so consistently. And I don't know if that was part of his way to kind of get Ice Physio, his education company, off the ground. But it was such a great idea. And I don't even know where those videos are, Jeff. By the way, they should, hopefully they're on YouTube, but I think they were just all Facebook Lives. Did you catch any of those? You guys remember that?
I remember Jimmy was saying he was on Periscope.
Yes. Yeah. So Periscope. And then I think Periscope was bought by Twitter. So then that was Twitter's live video account or something. And by the way, random fact, I used to do cold calls to practice owners for Vinicial live on Periscope.
Oh,
talk about, what do you call, swallowing the frog or whatever it's called. But so you didn't catch any of those before with Jeff Moore, with the live videos? I
don't know. I remember him. I remember some of the Facebook lives that I was never on Periscope, but I mean, why everyone isn't doing it still? I saw them. Jimmy was in PT school at the time. He was just a toddler. But yeah, it's amazing. And I will say, imagine the impact that Jeff has had on the profession. Imagine the influence. He's brought people into private practice. He's expanded so many mindsets. He's done so much. I don't ever want somebody to think that I am against anything that Jeff is doing. I think everything he does is gold. I love him. I love Zach Long. These guys are just innovators, but it's just that one little aspect of that one thing that I think we need at least to hear the other side of the story. and that's what I always hope to bring, is the other side of the story or a different perspective. That being said, I wanted to talk about how you guys are being perceived on social media. And like, Dave, I didn't do this for yours, but I don't know if you've done this lately. This is a screenshot. So I opened a Google incognito browser, trying to limit all of my search history and stuff. And I just put my name in quotes to see what comes up. Like, where do I stand? Now, interestingly, if you would have done this a couple of years ago, Total Therapy Solutions would have been at the top of that list. Other more physical therapy, service delivery things would have been there. But you could see, like, my top ranking is my LinkedIn, which I'm going to talk about a LinkedIn post that just blew up recently on relative terms. My Amazon. So that's my Amazon influencer page. It's got videos from me doing product reviews, my Medicare Therapy, which is a directory website, my Udemy, my Thinkific. When we talk about personal branding, Google looks at all of this kind of stuff and tries to pull from it to get a sense for, is this a real human or is this AI generated? What is the context around this human? How do we rank this human in regards to credibility, to trustworthiness? If you guys remember, man, how do I forget this? There was an acronym that helped you understand what Google was looking at. EAT, EEAT. So it was like expertise, authority, trustworthiness, and there was another E in there. Do you ever look at that stuff? Do you ever look at your personal brand separate, maybe even from your clinical brand, and see where you stand in the algorithm?
I have not in a while, but anytime that you post this stuff over the past, I don't know, a couple of years, I will go and do it. And I did just Google Dave Kittle in quotes, and actually a little surprising. I want to share it. Let me share this real quick. If I go present, I have not shared on StreamYard yet. Share screen.
Yeah, try to share screen. It'll come up, and
then I can click a window. Yeah. All right. So the first thing interesting is Twitter, and then I went down a little bit. But by the way, look at this. See results about PT Pinecast physical therapy. So Jimmy and the whole collab here. I guess I'm raising up with the high tide of PT Pinecast growth. So that's awesome. Second is my LinkedIn. Then it's my show on YouTube, and then Instagram, and here's my practice website. So interesting. And then of course it's going to be a bunch of videos with Tony and I, because Tony has helped me with reach as well with the videos, Apple Podcast. So I have not done this in a while. Yeah. So that you're bringing this up for what? For therapists to remember and to be considerate of what they're putting out. How they're being perceived, like why bring this up?
A couple aspects. So yeah, we know the value of building a personal brand and eventually being able to monetize and leverage that personal brand. But what are the opportunities? So when we just did this, I'll pull mine back up. This had no time constraint. This was just, out of all the history, my name, what comes up. So if LinkedIn is leveraged at the top of that organic search result, what I should be doing is generating more LinkedIn content. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to post. We know that they're pushing video right now, so I'm trying to get more LinkedIn video published. But LinkedIn also has an article feature, and all the articles are organically ranking on Google. So if I want to get an article out there about dry needling, I will write an article, put it on LinkedIn, optimize it for SEO, and Google will start to present that article. And then, of course, from that article, I can link into my business. I can link into my other resources, whatever I want to do. But to me, what that gives us is it gives us a sense to know, where is the attention going? What is Google prioritizing? Because Google still gets a ton of search. And where should I put my time and efforts? Because if we're just throwing stuff out and not knowing where it should go, I think we're losing some of that time and value. And for you, same thing. Like you're treating professionals, you're treating CEOs or retired individuals. If Twitter is up there at the top of your organic search results, man, I would be leveraging Twitter above some of the other platforms, because that's probably going to get that message out in front of the right people. I just wanted to share that for other therapists.
And the funny thing with that, so the funny thing when I shared, and I can pull it back up, but when I shared my Google query here, the first thing with the Twitter, I guess like the sub headline is my popular tweet that had whatever 96 or whatever thousand impressions. The physical therapist should be physically fit if they want to charge $250 to $400 per visit and get patients to invest in their health and wellness, agree or disagree. Not all of that was shown, but like most of it was shown as like what do you call it? Like the preview or whatever, like, like the sub headline of the first search result for Twitter. So anyway.
The other thing you guys could be doing is limit the search criteria to specific amount of time. So you can do your search, go into the options, limit it to the past week, limit it to the past month, see what the most current content is. And that's what I do a lot when I want to just see, am I getting backlinks? Am I getting citations? Like, who is talking about me, or where are the links coming from? I just limit it to the most recent week. And I try to do that once a week to just get a sense for what's going on. That being said, do you have a topic, Dave? Because I don't want to bogart the whole episode.
No, yeah. So in the private chat here, Jimmy put in his poll of the week from LinkedIn, and so Jimmy asked, which of these stings the most about your DPT degree? The price tag, the cost of your degree that puts a dent in your wallet, the ROI, the value of your degree in terms of what it's brought to your career. So here on the screen right now, this was posted by Jimmy 15 hours ago. Degree dilemma: what frustrates you more? As professionals, we've all invested time and money into our education, but the question remains, which of these stings the most? The price tag, the ROI, or show results. So the price tag, the cost of your degree that puts a dent in your wallet, or the ROI, the value of your degree in terms of what it's brought to your career. And this poll is getting popular already. So far, the price tag 47%, the ROI, what was it, 40%, and then show results. I have it; it's covered on my screen now. Show results 13%. So Tony, what do you think so far?
Well, like Jimmy's saying, ironically, more people are mad about the price, but they knew the price before they bought it. I would probably say they didn't know the price. I don't know. I'm trying to go back. It's a lifetime ago. Did I really understand what I was paying, the price I was paying in dollars, absolute dollars? I don't know that I did. And I don't know that a lot of, young adults going into college really understand the impact, the price that they're paying. Forget about the financing and the interest accumulation and all of that. But then also,
it's their responsibility.
It is, but you know what? If you're a patient and you have health insurance, how many of them fully understand the price going in? I don't think a lot of them do, but it's their responsibility. How many of us understand the actual cost we pay in taxes, the amount of dollars, absolute dollars that come out of our paycheck every week, every month for taxes? I don't think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us just make decisions based on the emotion. I want to help people. Physical therapists help people. I want a job. There's a need for more physical therapists. I'm going to become a physical therapist. New business idea: find models where the customer doesn't know the cost and double down on that. I think that's an old business idea. I think it's been around a long time. I think that's what a lot of people lay their bets on. What do you think about price versus ROI?
So really quick. So I chose a direct entry program. So it was like the 3-in-3 program instead of like a 4-year undergrad, get a bachelor's, transfer to some other school to get a 3-year DPT, where you're going to school basically all year round and do 7 years. So I chose as a 18-year-old or 19 or whatever from high school that I'm going to go to this school. Luckily, I was playing D2 baseball, got some baseball scholarship money, but I knew that it was going to be a 6-year program. And then at the end of that, I get a bachelor's and the doctor of physical therapy degree. And from my perspective, anyone that's out there complaining about like the ROI of our degree and this and that, I wish there was video camera footage of those families, of those therapists back when they were 18 or 19 or whenever they made the decision to go to physical therapy. Because what they did is probably what I did. which is you got all these college, envelopes across the table. You're looking at like where you're going to go tour and look around, and you're going to compare athletic training to physical therapy, or I don't know, like what other things that people compare? Nursing school, maybe PA. What they're comparing where they're going to go, like what track they're going to do and start on. And the folks that eventually, all the folks that we're talking about that eventually ended up going into physical therapy school, getting a DPT degree. If we had video of them and their families making this decision at that time, they had concluded at that time, this is going to be the best track for you. This is a track that fits your skill set, fits your interests. It's meaning at that time, Tony, like my family and other families, like when the student is 18 or 19 years old, they're selling themselves like this. They're saying physical therapy, it's always going to be in demand. It's always a need. You get to help people. It's rewarding. It's fulfilling. They're basically selling themselves. Whenever you all listening or watching, whenever you made the decision to go to physical therapy school, you chose that because you saw that there was some amount of autonomy and freedom, and maybe you could open up your own practice, or you're always going to have a job at the hospital or the skilled nursing facility or whatever, which all those things are pretty much true. You could start a practice anytime you want. You could start a mobile Medicare practice. You could go work for any place every place is hiring skilled nursing facilities, all that, hospitals, etc. So that's the thing that we don't have is the video of footage of these families making that decision, the students making this decision, Jimmy McKay and the folks like that making the decision when he was leaving radio and he, was saying like, I want to go with this path. This is what's going to be best for me and my future. Yeah. What happened there when they were looking at like the trend, like the trends and the growth of the industry and the job prospects and all that? Like, where did all that go?
Right. The other part of that I struggle with is the duration. You're making a decision 7 years before the reality of the outcome of that decision. Like, imagine how much has changed in the last 7 years. Imagine how much more is going to change in the next 7 years. Decision or best guess? Yeah, it's absolutely a best guess. So rather than looking at this as, okay, I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to be this professional in 7 years, I wish there was more of the integration involved. So, okay, I think I want to go this route. I'm going to start working. We've talked about exercise techs or aides that go into the physical therapy profession and then down the road become physical therapists. I think you don't want it. I don't know. I think there's so much advantage to being in the workforce while getting educated, and trying to combine those two. Growing or building on this idea, let me share the last topic that I had, because this kind of ties in. New data, live YouTube viewers, much higher when Jimmy doesn't talk. All right, so I asked this question on LinkedIn. Did we overeducate PTs for the job they actually want? Now, believe me, I have no deep thoughts behind these questions. I'm trying to figure this stuff out for myself. That's why I share this on social media. In my experience, most PTs want to treat patients, right? They don't want to only do evaluations. What's interesting about that, I know a couple therapists that are in the skilled nursing world, and they don't call them physical therapists. They call them evaluators and treaters. The treaters are the PTAs, the evaluators are the PTs. The PTs only do evaluations. They don't touch a patient, they don't go near a patient. And truthfully, now with skilled nursing being the way it is, most of the quote evaluators aren't even on site. They're doing it through telehealth. And they're just doing it as a way to rubber stamp the plan of care and get that person to see the PTA. So it's okay, they want to treat. The skills to be a great evaluator are not the same as the skills to be a great treating clinician. I said a neurosurgeon could kiss a boo-boo and stitch a laceration, but if that's what they want to do most of the time, why did they spend all that time becoming a neurosurgeon? Now we have stacks of DPTs who want to spend most of their time treating patients rather than evaluating and starting a plan of care. 65% agreed, 35% disagreed. I got 84 votes on it. This particular post was kind of sitting dormant for a while and then all of a sudden spiked. I think I'm at like 34,000 impressions right now over the last 7 days. So pretty interesting from that perspective, but I don't know. Like, should we be more a vocation in a technical school, or should we be more of, an elevated profession in a DPT program? And it's not a argument over the DPT. I don't care about the DPT. It's a discussion around, what do we actually want to do? Why did we become physical therapists? What is the actual service we want to deliver? In the beginning, my first decade of being a therapist, I wanted to treat. I wanted to engage and interact. I was more like a personal trainer. I wanted to, motivate and encourage and figure out new and innovative ways to deliver an exercise intervention that made my patient who hates exercise love what they were doing. That was the stuff that I wanted to do at that point. But there's not a lot of money in that. There are personal trainers with a weekend certification who could do it just as well as I could do it. So this goes back to the discussion around, how do we afford to be a physical therapist? Go ahead, Dave.
So I clicked agree on your post here. Who is your customer? What's funny is I voted when there were only 9 votes, and it was 33% for agree, 67% disagree. Then when you shared it, because I must have voted like when it first came out, and now you said you have like 60 or 80 or whatever folks that voted on it. Now it flipped the other way. So it's majority agree they agree with your post, right?
Yeah, to my understanding, there it is. They agree that we've overeducated individuals for what they actually want to do. We've overeducated them for what they actually want to do. And that has nothing to do with value or anything like that. Go ahead.
I was looking at a different agree or disagree post of yours, the who is your customer one, which would be another topic of the day.
Yeah, no, this one's about the education. And it goes back to, look, out of all the things that I can do, I believe, this is my personal opinion, the highest value, the highest ROI, back to Jimmy's post, is I am going to evaluate the situation, right? And I try to compare it to like the architect versus the person who actually builds the house. The highest value on a per minute basis is the architect who designed the house, who ensured safety, the engineer who made sure that it's not going to collapse. So as the therapist, like, my highest value that I could deliver is, let me evaluate the human. Let me look at all the factors in play. Let me look at the differential diagnosis. Let me do the clinical exam. Let me talk to the person. What is your true objective? You say this might be your goal, but I have a feeling the underlying issues, the insecurities, the other things, probably really the plan that will help you achieve your outcome is this. And I create the plan and I create the patient-centered goals. Man, that is like $1,000 an hour value. And I think people who have the income understand that. That's why, Dave, your business is what it is. But then the other level of that is, okay, does it take me to actually deliver the intervention? Does it take me to actually carry out the program? And I don't think it does, because I think I could take an uneducated individual and say, look, these are the 5 things I want you to do with this person in the next hour. They're not thinking, is this the right thing to do? They're simply following the blueprint, but the therapist wants to do that. So it's like, in a business, and I'll make this correlation, I'm paying a therapist to do the highest value thing. I probably don't want to pay my therapist a therapist wage to sweep the floor. I probably don't want to pay my therapist a therapist wage to organize the shelves and to wipe down the tables, right? But in a certain respect, that's what a lot of us wanted to do. We want to be there with the patient, treating the patient, but that could be delivered by anyone. It doesn't have to be delivered by a therapist. So what do you say, Dave?
I have to disagree. The past, the couple minutes ago when you said a trainer can just take a weekend course and do about the same as you, I disagree. Tony, Rob Vining and I, we highlighted some of your clever MacGyver type videos using, like monster bands and all these other things that you've used to help your patients and clients over the years. And I think you are so advanced with your ability to maybe evaluate and treat patients and clients. I think you almost like it's almost comes so easy to you that maybe it's like so simplified that you think a personal trainer could go learn a weekend course and then do the things that a lot of us do. So I definitely have to say I disagree with that.
So let me clarify, because I don't think I explained it quite right. Yeah, I agree. Like, there are clinicians out there that have amazing brains inside their skulls, and they're incredibly creative, and they have all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, do you think I could take a person who doesn't have the skills, knowledge, and education of a therapist and say, I want you to do this thing, whatever that thing is? That person could probably carry it out. I'm not saying that person is thinking of the thing. They're not creating the thing. They're not choosing the intervention. They are simply delivering the intervention. I think anybody could do that. So you pay the therapist for all the creative and the wisdom and the experience, but you shouldn't necessarily be paying the therapist to deliver the intervention. Now, there are interventions that require your expertise during the delivery, right? And Medicare has a great example. If you have a patient with a humeral fracture that's unhealed and that patient requires passive range of motion, I am not going to tell an untrained, unlicensed individual to mobilize that shoulder, even though from the outside, it just looks like you're moving their arm. But for a lot of the stuff that we do, I can tell somebody what to do. They don't need to know why they're doing it. They don't need to know the background behind it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so if I'm a therapist who wants to maximize my income, I need to deliver. I need to solve the highest value problems. And that is not sitting there with your patient, no matter how much you love it, socializing, connecting, and doing all those things. You can pay somebody who has a great personality and a good disposition to do that stuff for you.
All right. So fine. I agree with that. And then also this kind of supports kind of what you usually say, which is a comment here live from the Myofascial Clinic. Thank you for your live comment. They said, because the right evaluation is the magic to the entire plan of care. And that's kind of what Tony has been saying today and recently about the value of the licensed physical therapist and the ability to evaluate or reeval or reassess. And I agree. So that sets up the whole plan of care. And then depending on your practice model, you can have some of the plan of care or a lot of the plan of care be carried out by a physical therapist assistant or whatever it might be.
Yeah, Jimmy, like driver's license, you can go where you want, on-road career. Yeah, and like Dave's model, you know, I come from a fine arts background, so I'm going to talk about Pablo Picasso. I can spend millions of dollars buying a unique Pablo Picasso painting. I can hire Pablo Picasso, because he's a painter, to paint my bathroom. Paint it blue.
I think he passed away.
Right? But... What? Anyway, Pablo went through his blue period. I can pay him to paint my bathroom blue. Dave, you have people that say, I don't care if a lower trained individual can deliver this intervention because the therapist prescribed it. I want to pay the therapist to deliver that intervention. You're in that world, and that's amazing. But that's not the insurance-based world. So this is where we need to say, what about the people that don't want to pay Pablo Picasso to paint their bathroom? Maybe they want to paint it themselves, or they want to paint a kid down the street $100 to paint it. Like, how can we open up those opportunities? I think that's what we need to put our efforts into. Absolutely. Great artists. I don't want to go longer than we need to. What are your parting shots? What are you thinking about?
Parting shots. We'll go back to, the whole Jeff Moore post and what we were talking about at the top of the show. I think it's just, again, it's important to know your practice model, your business model, know your team, the value that you deliver to whoever your ideal client or patient is. My ideal patient or client is very different than Tony Maritato's ideal patient or client. Yes, we're in two different states. Yes, maybe Tony, you're more in a suburban area. I'm in a, metropolitan busy city area. If you know yourself, your practice, what you deliver, whatever you believe that you're either what you value or what your patients or clients are valuing in what they're searching for or what they value in your practice model, you have to know that. And maybe it takes some time to figure it out. And it's okay. And it's okay for both of, Tony and my practice to coexist in our great United States of America. And, we have two different models, and Tony has the in-network insurance model and has a brick and mortar office. And we are mostly out of network or out of pocket, and we go to our patients, our clients' homes. And at the end of the day, we're probably doing fairly similar interventions, and we're just delivering it or packaging it in two different ways.
Absolutely. That's the thing. There is no wrong answer. I would say there's probably no right answer either. It's whatever is specific and appropriate to your situation. And at the end of the day, we have a finite amount of time on this planet. We want to enjoy that time. We want to enjoy that experience. I will do things that cost me money because I enjoy the way it makes me feel. But on the flip side, I have responsibilities I need to take care of that require I have enough money to pay the bills. So you guys just lead and cut your own path. You will find the happiness that you're looking for. Jimmy, just smile and wave. Just smile and wave. All right, guys. Jimmy's parting shot. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. We will see you guys coming up this next Tuesday and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.